Let's get on to our next game then, which is Man City on Saturday. It's the 5:30 kickoff at St Mary's. Glen, the optimist, is going to point to the cup win. That, of course, was 2-0. Is that the motivation for the league game?
Guess so. Yeah, I mean, we got to hope. Man City, they've had a couple of games this year where they haven't turned up, but they're turning up at the moment, aren't they? Because they're in the situation, as I said earlier, where I don't know how many points they are behind Arsenal. It's quite a few. They need to win virtually every game between now and the end of the season. And when they went 1-0 down against Liverpool, I thought, oh, that's interesting. We'll see how that one goes. And they've ended up winning that by a street. I mean, the only thing that might impact them, I guess, is their quest for the Champions League. Might derail them later on if he has to try and rotate. But I mean, let's face it, they've got so many ridiculously good players. And we got to remember about the Carabao Cup. I know it was a great win for us, and I'm not putting a dampener on that from our point of view. Pep did rotate not particularly well in that game. Playing Kyle Walker at centre half for the very first time. He left out De Bruyne, or he left out Haaland.
Calvin Phillips coming in, wasn't it, for his only game this season?
Yeah, Calvin Phillips played, and that they were very poor in that game, and there is no way that he's going to do that again against us, especially as he knows that he can be beaten at St Mary's because it's happened a couple of times. So I just think Manchester City will take this game incredibly seriously, and it will be a full strength Manchester City side. I know Haaland was injured at the weekend, but if he's fit, I'm sure he'll be back. And if not, they've got a guy who just won the World Cup to play up front instead of him. So it's not exactly a hardship, is it? And my sort of current sort of feeling with us is that we're just a crap football team, really. And all that we've got is we do tend to put in a performance when we know that if we don't, we're going to get absolutely hammered. So we do put it in against the better sides, so we may sneak something out of it, but I would say 5% chance, not much optimism going into that game at all. And as you can tell, I'm at the stage where they've broken me, basically.
I'm surprised it's taken this long.
Well, no.
Steve, is looking into a crystal ball, is this going to be another one of those? As Glenn says, we do tend to step up against the bigger sides. If you're trying to think about the narrative of the game, is this going to be another 10 out of 10 performance, and then actually we get a hiding, we put in a good shift, but come out 3 or 4 nil down?
Well, I mean, we've seen us go both ways in that, haven't we? We've seen us have games against the likes of City, even when they were probably a better sort of team unit in previous years, and we've got positive results against them home and away. But basically everybody has got to be kind of an 8, 9, or 10 out of 10 performance from first whistle to last. You can't get away with having even a dodgy 5 or 10 minute spell in a game, because they will sense it, and that's the point at which they'll basically just tear you to pieces. I mean, we're just as likely to throw in an absolute shocker. But I mean, in fairness, we do tend to be kind of hot and cold, literally going from one end to the other week by week. And we've had our relatively poor performance today. Maybe next week's the good one, and we can effectively hand Arsenal the title. Which, yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody would have expected anyone to be saying that this time last year. But it's one of those, you've got to have a system that the system's got to negate the way City are going to hurt you the most, which is, as we know, and as we've set up against them before, you've got to defend very narrow, force them into wide areas, and hope that their crossing isn't very good. Which, for the most part, certainly when they've played us before, it hasn't been. Of course, now they've got a massive monster of a guy who can get on the end of those crosses. So you've then got to kind of defend those crosses a bit better than we do historically. I mean, the last few years, the number of goals we concede just from basic crosses into the box is kind of terrifying. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot that's got to go our way if we're going to get anything out of the game, even if we're only going to get a 1-goal defeat to make sure our goal difference isn't completely screwed. Things have got to fall our way, and yeah, you've got to go into it with a bit of hope, but not a great deal of expectation, I would imagine.
Let's just hope that if we come back to the 12 goals we've conceded from set pieces this season, if we're still talking about that this time next week, then would have done all right. And Glenn, is this one where he sets up the team just not to get a hiding? Is it about the goal difference for this one, or we've talked about maybe changing the formation up, going 4-3-3, and trying to get balls into the box? Is this not the game for that? Is it all to do with the Palace game the following week, because that's the one that we could conceivably win?
Yeah. Well, it'd be interesting to see if Sellers does anything different, because in this game, Ralph always went 4-2-2-2, and that used to give City problems in pre-Erling Haaland days. I can't remember, to be honest, what formation we played when we beat them in the Carabao Cup. Should have looked at that before I came on, but so it'd be interesting to see if Ruben Sellers does anything different.
It was Lianco at right back, if you remember.
Oh yeah, or whether he just whether he just regurgitates it and plays a slight variation, maybe with different people, of the formation we played today. But if I had to guess, I reckon it'll be 4-2-2-2 again, and we'll have Elyounoussi and someone else in the wide areas, and it'll all be about what we do off the ball. I would think if Che Adams isn't fit, that Onuachu will play, because that might cause some problems if we just load a load of crosses into the box. Because, I mean, he is a handful. I mean, he's big and he's clumsy, obviously, but when I noticed one bit when we were about to cross the ball into the box from a corner or a free kick, Kurt Zuma and Agard today were kind of panicking about who's going to pick him up. I mean, Kurt Zuma's the biggest, but he was desperately trying to hand him over to someone else. Yeah, he's not so good when he's not kicking cats, is he? Someone bigger than him, he didn't fancy it. So, he will cause problems, because City centre-backs, they're not going to be used to playing against someone like that. You don't get many of those in the Champions League, sort of 6'8" strikers. So
if you play him, then you need a couple of decent wingers.
Yeah, you need to be trying to work the crossing positions for the likes of Ward-Prowse
and Walker-Peters.
Yeah,
got to get the ball first against City.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You need to have some sort of plan. And I know against City, it's mostly about defending and making sure you concentrate for 90 minutes and not give anything away. But part of that is you've got to have some sort of threat yourself. Otherwise, they can just camp on the halfway line and just have 11 men in our half the whole time, and they will inevitably score if we don't offer anything. I mean, on the games where we got something out of them before, particularly the 0-0 game up at the Etihad, where the game where Adam Armstrong got given a penalty and then it got turned around for some reason. That game, we had some real attacking threat in that game, and it helps you because it keeps City away from your goal, because they just can't
squeeze the space.
Yeah, just can't squeeze the space without worrying about what's going on. So, what's going on at their end of the pitch. So, yeah, you never know. But as I say, I can't see it at the moment. I just don't see enough about this group of players. But I will be interested to see if Celeste does anything different, or whether he just copies Ralph again.
Yeah. Well, if you're watching along live, it's time to stick your score predictions into the comments. I'm going to go with a 4-0 defeat. Start off nice and positive. Steve, I'm going to come to you first. How do you see this one playing out?
I mean, we'll have about 15% possession, won't we?
Yeah.
Perhaps that'd be a better thing to guess.
Yeah. What's the possession?
What's the possession
differential? I think we'll have it'll be 15 to 20% possession, and if we can get some set pieces, maybe then we might be able to get something. But realistically, it's going to be grim watching. Just sit back and hope that we can just throw enough bodies in the way. 2-0 City.
2-0. All right. And Glenn?
Well, the
You're gonna-
obvious thing is to have 3-0, wouldn't it, in between your two scores? But I got a feeling for no logical reason whatsoever. I got a feeling we might score, so I'll go 3-1 to City.
3-1. Okay.